Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of What We Know. My name is Jake and I am here with my, I'm trying to come up with a good verb to describe Sam DeLev that is not, I don't know why, but the first thing that comes to my head is voluptuous, and I just feel like Sam's face is just...
Yeah, we're finding new adjectives and new game play.
Look, we all know that I'm dumb, right? We are aware of this.
Hey,
we know this. Oh yes. No. How about voluminous? Because you have such voluminous hair now. I have gotten multiple comments of how much they love your people love your hair. I'm just saying.
Thank you, Chad.
But that's not, we're not here to talk about Sam DeLev's hair. No, we actually have a special guest to come on to talk about something that is just about to be out or is out on crowdfunding right now. We have Thrythlind. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, I'm Luke Green, also known as Thrythlind online. I generally go by Thrythlind casually among online communities, or Thrift, that's fine. And yeah, I am part of a project that has hit crowdfunding on, I believe, is going to be Backerkit, coming out of Evil Hat, called for the Monster of the Week RPG.
Actually, can you tell us about yourself?
Okay, I'm not precisely sure when I started, but I think it was around 2014, around when it first came out. And I picked it up while I was living in Japan on a PDF. The first game I ran was during a Christmas break back in San Antonio with some friends, and I ran sort of a self-made scenario based off Fate Stay Night and a couple of other things. And I was initially going to be a little bit hesitant because I've never done Powered by the Apocalypse before at the time, and I was just coming out of I'm tired of template-based games like D&D where it's class level, and I was got into this, oh wait, this is actually just the perfect blend. Is just how I felt. It's one of my favorite games. And it's one I've had the privilege to be involved in. Actually, this is going to be the second time I'm going to be involved in it. This one's the first major one. Tome of Mysteries, I actually contributed 2 of the mysteries in this.
I have that. You clearly cannot see it, but I definitely have that on my shelf. You've talked about a couple projects. How did this project come about?
I was around 2018, 2019, starting to put together a couple optional rules, expansions for some of the existing playbooks, and trying to come up with. I've seen a lot of the ways people were struggling coming into Monster of the Week as new players, trying to do some advice on stuff. And I started writing advice on how I approach all the different playbooks, and I got to where I was a little bit unsure of my approach to 1 or 2 of them, so I started reaching out to see if I could get in contact with the person who made the playbook, and that led me talking to Michael Sands. Again, I've talked to him before, and a couple other things. He put me in contact with the co-author Marek Golanka, and I hope I said that right. And we had our 2 ideas together, and we created what was Hunter's Journal and then became way too many pages and is now Hunter's Journal and Slayer's Survival Kit. And it was just a sequence of events that was how did I end up here? It's amazing and beautiful.
Now, I know you've been encouraging me as a content creator into Powered by the Apocalypse and related goods for genuinely years. I think I got some of my first game recommendations from you back in 2017, but I want to know what draws you to games like Monster of the Week that inspires you to make more projects for it. You said you're not as into the template-based games. What made Monster of the Week, for instance, a good new home, and it might make it a good home to someone else?
It is it has it has some of that narrative thing of Fate, but is a lot more focused in on what how things work. There is a paradigm shift in that in like D&D, rolls are skill checks to see if you succeed or fail, and in Monster of the Week, its rolls are more like deciding which way the script goes. Things get messy. That doesn't necessarily mean you failed, but things got messy. And I just like the freedom to let people do cool things when I'm doing the keeper role. And a lot of the times I feel like the very precise, definitive nature of like D&D kind of gets in the way of my gaming style. And I also like the fact that it is very inherent that you can improvise and reskin things just on the fly how you want. And there isn't this like the incremental bonuses that are all over the place in a lot of other games. The bonuses are very small, usually between like somewhere between -2 and +3, and you might get a couple +1s here and there, or you might be some of my play testers who leverage the teamwork rules into oblivion. And
So a more cooperatively focused game, would you say?
yeah, it is definitely that is one of the things I really like. Like, there's not like an initiative thing. I will, as the keeper, I never roll dice as the keeper. There are some that play around with that, like in Storyteller Squad does, but in my case, in the default, you never roll the dice. And what I do is I describe, this is happening. What do you do to prevent, like, you turn a corner and a chitinous creature of slime and slick black skin just appears hissing at you and lunges. What do you do? And then you describe to me so what would you do?
Well, I would get out of the way. I don't like being lunged at.
And then I would say, well, okay, then please act under pressure, and I'd ask you to roll your cool. And if you said, I'm going to try to shoot it with my gun, I would say, well, roll kick some ass. And it's very much that it encourages the player to describe what you're doing, and me as the keeper, my job is to turn into mechanics.
Okay, so this sounds like it is well geared to people who are interested in story, maybe people who aren't as into a crunchy game, maybe a little al dente, but not terribly heavy. What else do you think makes a player or potentially a storyteller, a keeper, a good fit for this system?
Now, it's going to be very hard because it's going to be an outside perspective I have to think of, because it is very well fitting to mine. It is one of the games that burns spoons the slowest, let's say, most efficiently, I guess is a better term. If you are well into if you're heavy into like tactical precision, this is probably not the game for you. But if you're very much into narrative points and just running with whatever the spirit takes you, I mean, it sounds a little bit I can't think of the term, whimsy or whatever.
I'm curious, Sam, have you ever heard of whimsy before? I just was curious if you've ever.
I think it's a verb.
Yeah, is it a verb or is it a noun? I thought it was a noun.
It does. If you're interested in collaboratively telling a story, you're going to be doing good with this base. And if the other paradigm, like the shift you most have to do, is the dice roll isn't necessarily whether you succeed or fail. It's whether things go in your favor or things don't go in your favor. And if you're very much into that, did they succeed or did they not, you're probably going to want to stay with the precision of like D&D and all that. But if you want like make a cool scene out of a movie or a TV show, then you're probably going to then Powered by the Apocalypse is good for you. Monster of the Week. And other thing to be aware of Powered by Apocalypse things is they tend to be very genre specific. Like Monster of the Week does action horror very well. You can reskin it to different settings, like there is now a Witcher-based setting in Codex of the Worlds. There you can I've done it with the Haunted Space Station. As long as you're within that range of action horror, it does its tropes well. If you tried to do like superhero, probably not as well. But there are other Power of the Apocalypse games for that. So if you find the one that is very well suited to the genre you want to do, and you are very interested in that, telling a story, conversing with your friends, sharing the agency back and forth, this is the game for you.
With the Hunter's Journal and the Slayer Survival Kit, what are we going to be getting with those? Like, what new things are we going to be seeing that, players and GMs will be excited to see?
Yeah. Well, there is going to be 9 new Hunter team playbooks and 9 new team playbooks, which was an interesting bit of a mechanic to get to play with because it didn't exist when I started the thing. And when I started this project, it didn't exist, and I learned about doing this project. But there's also a lot of advice on how to make clear your intention, how to approach investigations, how to approach action scenes. There's advice on how to homebrew your own playbooks, how to homebrew your own weird moves.
What is a weird move, for those who might not know?
Okay, so there are 5 ratings: charm, cool, sharp, tough, and weird, and each of them has 1 or 2 basic moves attached to it that everybody has.
Like acting under pressure.
Like acting under pressure, which is the catch-all for you're doing a thing, you're trying to avoid a hazard or do a cool thing. Yeah. And in the beginning, the only weird move was use magic. And then Tome of Mysteries came out and they added 8 more so you could be more specific, like no limits if you wanted to do action hero nonsense, or past lives if you wanted to have been through several different lives or whatever. And so you would generally pick one of those basic weird moves, say, this is my weird thing. This is what makes me set apart from other people. And there's going to be like 8 new ones in the book that I made.
So how do those playbooks work? What are the existing kind of archetypes, and then what does this add?
So the existing archetypes are kind of the core things that you have. There's like the Chosen, which is the Buffy thing, though it can also be played as more of a supporty character, the person who's chosen to be more of the prophet or guide. It comes with a signature weapon that leads a lot of people to make it more fighty, but that's one of the extra rule sets I put in, because I made it to where now you can make that signature thing a tool or an aid. And there's stuff like the Wronged, who is the person who had a family member killed or lost by a monster and is now go out hunting that monster. So like Blade. You have the person who's the conspiracy theorist, Flake, like Mulder is basically a flake. You have the person who works for an agency, which is like Scully. You have the person who has spooky supernatural powers that they have a hard time controlling, which would be like Firestarter, Carrie, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the basic core urban horror type stuff is in the main playbooks. And one of the things I think that playbooks do different from classes is playbooks focus around relating to a specific story arc, and you are encouraged to draw. One of the advances you can take is like take a move from another playbook that's not your own. So and one of the advanced moves is change to another playbook. And I really like it that any fictional character you could actually reasonably associate with any of a different number of playbooks based off of where you are looking at in their story. And I love that. So that is some of the basic ones, like the monstrous if you want to be angel or anything like that, those lines.
I love that you're using a lot of the, like, I use Mulder and Scully because every time I hear of Monster of the Week, I immediately think of X-Files, as it is, it's the most common that I get told about, oh, this episode of X-Files is a Monster of the Week episode, where it's not necessarily about the overall arching story. And I always hear it's referenced in other places, and it's far from the original, but that's like the number one thing that sticks in my mind when I hear Monster of the Week. And I just very much love that you were using those examples. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I just very much liked it.
The role-playing game is named after the trope.
Yeah, exactly.
But the new ones that we got coming out, and I'm going to focus on the hunter ones first, and we'll get to the team ones next. I had like 3 or 4 of them originally. One of them was the Changeling, which I have had out in the open for years at this point. But we took it back in and refurbished it, looked at it again, tightened it up, made it look a little bit better. I know Mike Sands took his Action Scientist and did the same thing. So we've got new versions of both those playbooks coming. And I had a couple of other ones, like the Forged, which you used to call the Talisman, where it is, you are a sapient magical artifact that can take a human form.
Finally, some representation, my goodness.
The Changeling is basic. I didn't realize it at the time. I realized this years later, but the Changeling is basically, so you are just now discovering you're neurodivergent. Because the theme is, you thought you were human, but no, you're not. And making peace with that. But when we put in the first draft, they said, hey, can you put in some more sci-fi stuff? And I said, yeah, I can do that. So I came up with the Host, which is kind of like if your Jedi's a Dax, you're like Dax or Venom or Ghost Rider if you want to be supernatural. You have the Envoy, which is kind of like Mr. Morden or Gandalf. You're an agent of a distant, mysterious power. Or Nick Fury. Or Carter Burke if you want to be a jerk.
A playbook that runs the range from Nick Fury to Gandalf. Tremendous.
Yep. And I did the other ones I have is the Interface, which is hacking and cyborgs. And they're not very good with people. I think the quote on it is something like, I don't get people, I understand machines, or something along those lines.
I'm in this tweet and I don't like it.
And then I went into the fact that I lived in Japan for 7 years and Korea for 3 years, and I went and did the Visitor as an extraterrestrial, the sci-fi things. And I also had an acquaintance from another server, the Cyan 2E servers, who had a playbook that was, this is Phil Ames's playbook. It's called The Celebrity. So it's like you're that vampire hunter from Fright Night, or you're Bruce Campbell and My Name is Bruce, or you're Elvira, or you're the Hex Girls. Yeah. And the last one, I believe, and I'm saying all of them because by this point it's already out, is The Covenant, which is a team playbook, a hunter playbook that focuses on working with allies. So Rick O'Connell, summoners, that kind of thing.
I like it.
Well, Rick O'Connell and Evie. It would be Rick O'Connell and Evie. Yeah.
And that was the Hunter's Journal, is that correct?
No, that's going to be in Slayer's survival kit. Hunter's Journal is actually more of what Merrick's thing is, and that is the personal hunter story. And these are like a mechanized version of giving each hunter their own personal subplot that you can advance through. And there's like things like, if you want, for the player, say, hey, if you want to explore more of your character, here's some nice entry points for you to think about starting this up. Talk to your GM or your keeper and start this up. And when my playtest, I had the playtest Changeling player wanted to do the Awakened one, which is, hey, you're just barely figuring out you're not human and exploring your powers, and you've now found somebody else who has suddenly discovered they have powers. You're going to try to teach them. What could possibly go wrong?
Sounds good to me.
Now we got this.
Yeah. There was a in their case it was a EMT driver from their second case that was treating them after they got injured that accidentally saw through their glamour and started researching weird stuff. And he came to me, I want to do this one and I want it to be Maddie. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to make her a thing now. And we went through this whole thing where she awakened sensitive, or she could sense supernatural things. It seems like a kind of benign one, but it worked up to where she has sensitive, which is basically just sensory stuff, because she's inherently a supernatural predator, and you just woke up that part of her.
Look, who among us has not inadvertently awoken a supernatural predator?
Yeah, there was she flip-flopped between bystander and ally and monster and back to ally through the campaign, through the series.
That's phenomenal.
Yep. There was a scene one point where they were going to talk to her, do like an intervention type thing, and they had given her this frame that let her pump power into it so it wouldn't overload her. And they saw it and looked, oh, that looks like a galaxy in that frame. What have you been eating? And people were coming to kill her, and they were more afraid about her reaching the picture than the thugs that had come to kill her.
Danger levels, all right? There's always risk.
Yep.
So can you tell us a little more about the team playbooks?
Sure. Team playbooks were, again, a thing I didn't come into before. I didn't have it before. I was like, I've never seen that. I would love to make a team playbook, but I haven't seen the mechanics. And they said, okay, sure, here, have them. Thank you, Evil Hat. And the team playbooks are a way to give a very quick theme to your series. So, like, if you don't have a particular show in mind, then you just do core without the team playbooks. But if you want to do X-Files, you pick Agents in Black. And then the ones I did, I said, I love this. Most of these are mine. One of them is Mike Sands. And me and Mike Sands did 3 variations of You're All Monsters, where I did Coven, which is you're all supernatural entities of maybe the same type that have made an oath to fight evil. So Gargoyles, Jujutsu Kaisen, Charmed, that kind of thing. And I did Mundane Monstrosity, which is you're all supernatural people, but it's all kind of mild, and you live normal lives, and you've just barely gotten into using your powers to do hero stuff. You're normal people who happen to be monsters.
That's what I'm saying.
Which, yeah, I love that whole thing. That is a lot of my settings. And I did Artifact Collectors, which is kind of like Warehouse 13, or The Librarians, or if you go back to the 80s, Friday the 13th, the series. Yeah. And I did, and then Mike Sands did Good Monsters, which is kind of your bunch of different monsters, and you're trying to keep each other under control and not go rampant, kind of like Being Human.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the artwork that you have shared with me, kind of like it with like groups of 3. It kind of feels like that. Like a lot of them are just like monsters. It's like, okay, we gotta keep each other in line. Gotta not go wild.
Yep. And then for the more sci-fi stuff, we have Escaped Experiments for like Dark Legion type thing. You were part of some project that did experiments on you, or you were one of the scientists forced into doing the experiments, and you lot escaped. There is a research lab for if you want to do like Eureka, or if you want to be more sinister, SCP. There is a radio station if you want to be Deb of the Night on Bloodlines, or Welcome to Night Vale, or that video game Killer Frequency. There is, let's see here, a medical team if you want to be Forever or House MD or something like that, but you're dealing with supernatural maladies. And then you have Swipe to Slay, which is monster hunting as a gig economy.
Ah!
And I just love that because they they took one of my art suggestions for that, which is 2 exuberant at yahoos and a well-trained occultist off to the side who's going, my family's been studying this for generations. I'm a once in a thousand prodigy, but the family's dead broke and I have to work with these people.
Shh, stop complaining. I have to take a selfie.
That's actually the picture. And I think that covers all of them. Now, the one big thing about team playbooks that it was kind of interesting is they come with example team enemies and team allies. So suddenly I had to make 40, 50, some odd number of NPCs to do examples of. So I started referencing friends, past campaigns, shows, podcasts I listen to, and people I follow on Twitter. So like on Research Lab, one of the example allies is Campbell, the lab AI. They edited out my Forever GM explanation and said he creates different scenarios. Also on that is Dahlia Amin, which was Amy Dowland, just switched around. And on radio station, there is Pearl Isa, a witch and actor who knows how to make rituals performing. And Levi Shalom, an excellent crafter and engineer with a custom wheelchair. If you need some good custom gear, they're who to count on.
That is so cool, I say, in an entirely unbiased manner. Hey, comments. Hey, don't insight check me. You don't need to insight check me, thank you. Okay, so to clarify where all of this sits in the Powered by the Apocalypse taxonomy, you have the umbrella of those related systems that are all united by this story game ethos. Within that, we're talking about Monster of the Week, which is, yes, X-Files, but not exclusively. In fact, covers this whole tonal range of stories around that theme. Then you have perhaps a more specific tone of the team that can be emphasized by things like these team playbooks you've talked about. And on an individual level, each player plays their own character archetype on the team, and you've now expanded the number of playbooks that are available to do that. Is that roughly what we're looking at here with the Slayer's Kit?
That is pretty much it. With the other thing, I think I may have undersold just how amazing Merrick's Hunter's stories are for adding subplots and things stretching on. They are really fun to play with. And we did 2 example stories. There's a thing on how to make your own version, but we did 2 for each playbook, the existing ones and the new ones. So of the 33 playbooks that exist now, there are 2 for each. So there's 66 different example stories.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
That's what most of what Hunter's Journal is. Hunter's Journal also has a lot of optional new options for like older playbooks, like the new chosen options, the new monstrous options, some other things like that.
Sounds like a good source of inspiration for the whole team.
Yeah, it is really cool. It's one of those ones where you build the world out from. I find it easier not to build the world entirely. Start with what world building comes in each playbook, and then add on to it as the story goes. And it's not canon until it happens on screen.
Now, with all of this going on, it is going to be crowdfunded from what we had talked about. Do you know of what some of the options are going to be, or do you know of what like tier levels, or like what are we looking at when it comes to this? Like, there's 2 books. Is there a single book option? Is there a double book option? Or is there extras, dice, stuff like that?
Some of the add-ons is going to be like dice. There's going to be tokens for bonuses like +1 forward, -1 forward. The thing I'm really looking for, character journals for Monster.
Oh, that'd be fun.
those little pocket character diary things that they have for Pathfinder and 5e. Some of my major inspirations for some of the options I designed came from some of the advice I gave came from listening to this podcast, which is Monsters Playbook. And some of the definite power things came from, I'm going to have to put this back up now, listening to this podcast, which is the Storyteller Squad. But anyway, and I just like to plug those two podcasts whenever I can because they're great people. I know the Storyteller Squad has had crossovers with Pest Control and $2 Creature Feature, I think.
Honestly, the Monster of the Week TTRPG like production groups are like way more involved with each other than any other game. Like you don't see the crossover that you see with Monster of the Week games than you do with other, like it's just like it brings in a completely different crowd of people and they're just like, yeah, let's like work together, let's do stuff, let's like figure versus like a lot of D&D games, it's like you don't see that nearly as much. It's very, very cool.
It is really weird that it is like that is a Monster of the Week thing that I don't see in. I saw it in with y'all in Althaven where you have crossover your Star Trek stuff, the different games you have with Star Trek, but I don't see it like with Vampire the Masquerade as much. I don't see it with Alien RPG as much. It seems to be a Monster of the Week thing.
In the same way that Warehouse 13 and librarians occasionally get that little bit of connective tissue between shows, likewise, TTRPGs inspired by that genre of storytelling seem to cross over a little more than, you know, the Lord of the Rings and Bryan Sanderson.
Yeah.
Sometimes these things are very genre dependent, and Monster of the Week makes it easy to do creative things at your table and with other tables, it seems.
Heck, Supernatural had a crossover with Scooby-Doo.
That just makes me rethink my whole life. If this episode has made you want to rethink your life, or has made you want to play Monster of the Week, give this video a like and subscribe and let us know which playbook you like best in the comments below. You can also catch us on twitch.tv/althaven_, where we stream RPG content. Join the conversation on our Althaven Discord. If you want to support us, you can do so on coffee.com/Althaven. But please check out the fine work of our friend Thrythlind and Evil Hat with Hunter Stories and the Slayer Survival Kit, now crowdfunding. Info in the description below. And until next time, keep it weird, Internet.